This is SimNews.TV, and you're listening to the iWeekly show. Welcome to the iWeekly show, the premier place for news, headlines, and analysis on all things iRacing, the premier online racing simulator. I am your host, as always, Mr. Hashtag Do You Mind himself, Jake Sparey, bringing you the rundown on all things iRacing for the next half an hour. It has been a busy week. Week 12, the championships all decide that they want to end around about now. Week 13, the new iRacing build coming out in 1 week's time. And ultimately, it's a really, really interesting time in iRacing. But interesting times in iRacing mean that the iRacing World Championship turned up and decided they wanted to have a race. So Suzuka, we headed to the land of the rising sun. And yet again, we had the race that we have had for the past 9 races in the season. And that was Martin Kroenke winning his 11th straight race overall, his 10th of the season. And showing yet again why he is the best iRacer in the world right now. And nobody can even come close to him on that mantle. But to go 10 for 10 was a fantastic achievement, and I'm pretty sure that it will take another special driver like Kroenke, like Hutu, to go make that happen. But it's not often that you see something like that happening. Now, although he is the best driver in the paddock, and with World's Fastest Gamer happening in just 2 weeks' time for the iRacing lot, the big question is, does he qualify or not? Does Martin Kroenke decide that he wants to go for it? Because I think anybody would go for it given an opportunity, but Martin Kroenke is a different kettle of fish. We saw that he didn't choose to race the Visa Vegas e-race when he had an opportunity to do so for $1 million. We also saw the fact that he wasn't fazed by going for the R-Factor 2 qualifiers. He wasn't fazed about going at it a different way as many other drivers did. And even though we got 2 weeks to go, the rumour mill is that Martin Kroenke, the 11 races straight winner, the almost 1 year unbeaten driver, is in a situation where he may decide not to race it. And it's baffling, but if he wants to focus on his studies, he can. It's not a guarantee, as I've said. The rumour mill is going around that he won't race. It'll be interesting to see if he does, because if you look at where World's Fastest Gamer is right now and look who's qualified already for it, you've got Bonner House. Arguably, he's the R-Factor guy, but this season he's been putting his pressure in on iRacing, plying his trade. In fact, for the past 2 years, he's been an iRacing guy. You got Gregor Hutu, the 5-time champion, the man who has dominated sim racing since the early 2000s and has been known as arguably the forefather of sim racing. You talk about Isaac Price, who's qualified just this weekend through Insomnia 61 and a tournament in Berlin through the Forza series. There's already 3 prominent iRacers in the final. And need I forget, Rudy Van Buren's victory was almost taken away by Jeffrey Reitveld, who has some experience on iRacing, Niederkem Wisniewski, who has also experience on iRacing. But for the R-Factor qualifiers, which are a separate entity, I will congratulate Rudy Van Buren on getting through to the finals. Same with Isaac Price on getting through to the finals this weekend. But it is an interesting situation. And if Kroenke doesn't qualify, then who does? Because all of the quickest drivers outside of Martin Kroenke are in that younger bracket. Yes, you'll have drivers like Mac Backham going for it. You'll have drivers like Freek Schothorst trying to go for it. I doubt we'll see Mitchell de Jong go for it, being a Red Bull-sponsored driver. But in terms of drivers who cannot do it, shall I say, Frederick Rasmussen's out of the question. Marcus Jensen is out of the question. Sebastian Job is out of the question. So Josh Rogers even out of the question. So 4 very prominent quick drivers out of the question. Who does go for it? If Kroenke doesn't. And that's the very interesting situation that everyone finds themselves in, because it will open up opportunities for other drivers to have a massive go at it. Drivers like Jerome Kvekel. Drivers like the Michael Partingtons and the Ricardo Orozcos. You'll have drivers lower down the field like the Kazuki Umashimas, the Yuta Saitos, potentially the Graham Carrolls, although I do believe he may have already made his way into the final. Not confirmed, not sure. But already we are seeing a lot of ways to get in and a lot of drivers finding those ways to get in. So if it's not Martin Kroenke, then honestly, it's the biggest open book all year, because no other driver has been, honestly, perfect enough. And it may be something that if Kroenke doesn't race, we have 4 different race winners. And points become very crucial for the title. But from the P1 of Martin Kroenke, he did not secure the title. But oh, how nearly he did. 28th or higher in the last 2 rounds to take the title. If he turns up, it happens. Seeing as there was only 34 drivers in that race and 30 the weeks before that. I see Martin Kroenke winning the title. If he turns up at the Nürburgring, wins in his home country, you can't ask for anything better. But for Bono, P10 only at Suzuka, and that's the shocking part. Started 12th on the grid, made his way up into the top 7, front wing gets changed back to 12th, and then all the way back to 10th. Bono is not a driver who sits in the middle of the pack and stays in the middle of the pack. Drivers all around this race. Hutu got into contact with Mac Backham. Marty Piatella got turned by Antoine Higelan. Higelan had to repair for damage. Mogarfilio, who had a brilliant qualifying, did the radicals thing and started to fall back a little bit. But for Bonnet House to finish in position 10, I think it's more deep lying, this position number 10, because in the last 2 rounds, he's finished P6, P10, and that's not championship-winning material. I'm not sure Bonner House is doing enough. I'm starting to wonder whether the world's fastest game has got into his head a little bit. And I'm not saying things, to try and cause beef or to try and stir the cooking pot, but I do wonder, with the mantle of being the hottest property in sim racing right now for Bonner House, whether he feels that his legacy at the top is sustained by winning World's Fastest Gamer is the mentality that he's looking at. Maybe sacrifice the World Championship because I'm the only other driver now that stands the slimmest opportunity in the world. But this year has been mega for Bonner House. He did win the Visa Vegas E-Race. He did manage to make himself an automatic pick for World's Fastest Gamer. He has had many podiums this season in the World Championship. But ultimately, the big crux in House's season has been consistency. And I think that consistently, Bonner House has not proved to be the quickest driver. I think, especially at this late stage, when you're having to put in the hours now of practice, with the 5-day interview process coming up and not knowing what you have to deal with, I think Bonner House is now starting to feel the pressure. Okay, I could get a job out of this. I could get the biggest job possible out of this opportunity. And if I don't get this opportunity, then when am I? Bonner House is one of the best poised drivers and arguably one of the leading candidates, if not the leading candidate right now, heading into this job application. His biggest rival right now is his own teammate, Gregor Hutu. Is there an inter-team rivalry at Redline? Maybe. Both of them want it. McGregor, I think, needs it more than Bono does in order to cement his legacy. Bono's got at least another 15 years underneath him if he wants. He's been going since he was 16. Can Bono House do what he needs to do? Yes. Will he win the world's fastest gamer? He'll be close if he doesn't. But P10 in the World Championship? Bono House is having the worst bit of form I think he's had for a very long time. And heading into the world's fastest gamer with that form, that's question mark material for McLaren to look at. Okay, so you are the it man at the moment. So how come you've had a 6th place and a 10th place in your last 2 rounds? Questions be asked. I'd ask them. But aside from that, aside from the battle at the top, the battle at the bottom becomes very, very interesting right now. I'll just get up the points because they are very interesting at the bottom. You have Patrick Holtzman on 119, Graham Carroll 116, Joni Tormala 111, Balaz Remnick 109, Mo Garfilio 109, Lexi Usiakala 108, Daniel Bieder 104. That's just from 24th to 30th. And then you got Tomo Meglic on 99, Peter Berryman 97. I expect to see, between now and the end of the season, 2 drivers from inside the bottom 17 make their way up into the top 30. And when you look at drivers who haven't qualified or haven't raced in a while, you've got Joni Tomala, who's given up. Peter Berryman, who's given up. Lexius Yakla only came back last week to secure his place. Or this week to secure his place. Graham Carroll, who hasn't raced in a while. Patrick Holtzman, who's not even got a Pro World Championship license anymore. Drivers are not doing enough. And I'll put this into perspective. 120 points makes you safe over a season. 120 points makes you safe over this season. That's 10 points around. There's 1 drop week, so 11 points around. That's P25 in every race this season to finish a position 25. I'm not here to argue against other drivers. I think they do a fantastic job week in and week out. But a position 25 every round to make sure you're safe. You know, with the amount of drivers that's there and what's doing it, yes, I would finish in the 30th or the 31st. But if you include retirements into that, I'm pretty sure even I could get close to 120 points over a season if I made it. Assuming I didn't crash. This whole season goes to show you, if you just turn up for every single round, put in a semi-decent result every race, you know, aim for top 20, finish in the 21st, the 22nd, you will be safe. Drivers like João Vaz, who have got an average start of 20th on the grid, and then finish around 21st. Stephen Michaels, who finishes 22nd on average. Jurgis, who averages 22nd on average. You're looking at drivers like Ilkka Harpala, who's averaged a 19th place finish, be 12th in the championship. For goodness sake, Marcus Jensen, who's 6th, has an average finish place of 13th this season. And you wonder why so many people are not making that charge, are not going for it, who have dropped behind the wayside. Let's talk about drivers who haven't turned up much at all this season. Robin Friscop, Simon Cattell, Jake Sturgis, Marin Cholak, Michael Dinkel, Lucas Gotch. Who else hasn't been too forthcoming? Diego Oliveira's been in and out. Fakara's been in and out. Victor Preto's been in and out. I'm pretty sure there are 20 drivers in the Road to Pro who want to race. And not only want to race full-time and do all 12 rounds, or all 16 rounds, or all 20 rounds, or however many rounds they'll be. They'll want to do them all. Granted, real life comes into play, but honestly, if you are quick enough, Go and prove it. This is my gripe with all drivers now. If you're quick enough, go and prove it. Go and prove you can finish in the top 5, top 10. Show everyone why you mean something in sim racing. We're about to take off as an industry overall. You're not going to keep your legacy as an amazing driver if you don't go out and prove you're an amazing driver. And for some drivers who will have to qualify again, if they even want to, that is, there's a lot of names that can go through. I predict Tomo Meglic is safe, even though he's 5 points behind Daniel Bieder at this stage. Because I am pretty sure that drivers like Tomala, like, say, Holtzman, won't race between now and the end of the season. Berryman, I don't think, will race between now and the end of the season. And it's a very interesting time. It's a very interesting process. I'm hearing that they may lower down the amount of drivers who will be available into next season, but it's a time where you can't afford to be waiting on many things that happen. There's a lot of drivers there who may get through. I think even Paul Ilbrink, who's on 88 points, who's at least 16 now back from Daniel Bieder, I still think Paul Ilbrink will go through. That's how much I think certain drivers aren't proving themselves and should have a better work ethic. And that will come with money. That will come with guaranteed positions. That will come with sponsorship. Maybe we'll see a better improvement next year. Gripe over with the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. My message to all drivers. NASCAR. Oh, it was a busy week for NASCAR. A very busy week for NASCAR. And I know I've run on a little bit in my World Championship talk, so it'll be very quick. Darlington, the race for the chase is on. The first round of that race for the chase. Round 13. Ray Alfalla, 3-time champion. And I said that he needed to improve because he was nowhere, basically. He made a few silly mistakes at Indy. Michigan wasn't the best. But thank you very much. Ray Alfalla, first man to stamp his ticket to Homestead, with the 3-time champion getting there. Ray wasn't the quickest. I will say that first and foremost. Ray Alfalla was not the quickest driver there. There were drivers quicker, but it goes to prove to you, if you keep it on the island, if you just hold yourself good at the Highline circuit of Darlington, if you just keep it out of trouble, you will make it home and you will win races. Alfalla mastered the cautions, mastered the green flag stops, but had a little bit of luck to work with. Zach Novak, for example, right now I would consider the fastest man in NASCAR at this stage. On his form, Zach Novak is on fire. But the issue that Zach Novak had today was he came in for a stop, he had a 1:10 stop, which put him to the back, and he was there at the back and he said, "Oh, I can't do this anymore, not from the back, I can't win this race," and he retired. I don't know what was wrong, whether he had a technical issue that forced him to go 1:10 on the stop, whether he clipped a wall and got damage and had a steering arm issue or something, but Zach Novak now has only 2 chances left. And I think he will be one of those drivers who goes to push for it and will be very good in the next 2 rounds. Ryan Loser, for example, a driver who is amazingly fast. No doubt he's the quickest rookie this season. But the issue Ryan Loser had was he had a penalty where he changed the lanes, he had to go for the drive-through, he lost the lap, he gained it back, he got lucky with a caution, he finishes 3rd. So Ryan Loser definitely had the pace to win. But ultimately, Ryan Loser should never have been a lap down to begin with, changing the lanes. It's that insight that you need to look at and think, well, why is this driver who is so good make such a big error? Maybe he didn't know, but that's going to cost him. Not much, I wouldn't have thought, but out of Alfalla, Novak, Loser, and Zelensky, 1 or more are not going to be in that final chase. Well, actually, that's wrong. It's 4 to the chase, isn't it? Yeah, it's 4 to the chase. My bad. 4 to the chase. So Zelensky. Bobby Zelensky. Oh dear. Zelensky did nothing wrong this race. Apart from finding the man who wrecked the most all race, and the man who caused every caution out on circuit, and that's Josh Berry. Heading down to pit road, I think Berry gets loose, comes up into Zelensky, tries to go around the outside of him to get free run into the lane, and Zelensky gets turned around, no caution, and pretty much ends his charge for the race. A caution would have kept him in play. A real shame for Bobby Zelensky. I like him as a driver. I think he does brilliantly all the time. He has a great work ethic, unlike others. He's not afraid to do the little series to help promote sim racing in the NASCAR side. And overall, he's a very good character. And the next round of the chase will be very interesting, heading towards Homestead for the finale. And hopefully, we will have a very interesting race. Is it 3 that make it through to the chase? I can never seem to remember, and there is why you should always know your facts. But that's not the only NASCAR that happened over the week, because NASCAR decide they're going to hold an iRacing Pro Invitational. First, it's a 4-race series to the end. All professional drivers getting in. Iowa was where they were looking at, and they did pull in some very good drivers. Ty Majeski, for example, the only man to be over 10,000 iRating. Not only that, the only man to be over 10,000 iRating twice. He's done it on oval twice with 2 accounts. That shows you how quick Ty Majeski can be. You've got Christopher Bell, who does the World of Outlaws quite a lot, very used to it. Chase Briscoe, who I've seen knock about in the likes of the IndyCar Pro Invitational, I think he was a part of. And then you got Ryan Truex, not Martin Truex Jr., but Ryan Truex. So the class of field was up there. There were great drivers. It wasn't a big field. It's more of a, shall I say, publicity thing more than anything else. I think it brings people to watch iRacing, and it gets subscribers in for the oval side. I think it's great for the American reputation of iRacing, where they have been very good. And Mr. Kennedy wins. Kennedy. So, yeah, the NASCAR Pro Invitational at Iowa. Didn't get a chance to see much of it. It was only a 30-lap race. It was still very, very good to watch. And I thought that it would do very well. So our last point, before we wrap up, heads over to next week. Because it is very important to talk about next week. Because next week is what we call in iRacing Week 13. And Week 13 is the fun time, where all these wacky series come out of the woodwork. And they get done, and you get loads of people trying out new things. It's the time when the new build gets implemented and everyone decides what needs working, what doesn't work. Is there bugs that need to be fixed, this, that, and the other? But Week 13 has become very interesting this Week 13 because the Blancpain Championship final is on a Week 13, and I don't know how I feel about it. So the first thing I ask is, what does it mean? Week 13 is the time when everything changes, be it all the setups, be it all the balance of performance issues, be it trying to fix a vehicle, be it trying to fix tracks. New tracks get implemented, new cars get implemented, and ultimately it becomes a really fun process. Because you wait for that new season, you go, yes, I want to race, I want to test, I want to race, I want to make it happen. But in terms of the Saturday final, the Tuesday or the Wednesday, you get that big moment where iRacing goes down for a bit, it comes back up, you can get the download done, and then everything is all change. And for Blancpain, the final race of the season, to have change and have not many days to work out what the changes are, whether I need to discard my entire set, go out and do it again, that's really interesting. And actually, it does mean a lot, because balance of performance changes so late in a season, with so little time to see what has needed to be changed. It will make everything a little bit more nerve-wracking. And I think for Blancpain, and what they've done so far this season is not really meddle with it too much. I don't actually see them meddling with it too much. Not yet, but for the Blancpain qualifying series, they'll meddle with it a lot because they'll have a certain Ferrari that they'll need to add in to make a 6th vehicle into play for Blancpain. Ferrari GT3, the 488. But that's the thing. It's always going to be a very interesting progress. So what does it mean for the championship? Well, for Core Sim Racing, it's their title to lose. They've got that 28, 30-point lead over the two NX vehicles. Only 6 vehicles now have a shot of winning the championship, however slim it is for Evolution Racing Team. But the point is this. Core Sim Racing has been very fragmented all throughout the past month. You've had Chen Bolotbasi go for R Factor World's Fastest Gamer. He's probably looking to go for the Formula 1 Esports World Championship as well. Frederick Rasmussen's probably looking at it. I know Maximilian Beneko's looking at it. Patrick Holtzman's looking at it. But for Core, they've had Chen Bolotbasi, Frederick Rasmussen, and Isaac Price as well, going off to Insomnia, going off to Berlin, making things happen. Core are branching out. But the issue of Core branching out comes back to, what about their setup for this final race? They're only going to have a week to get it right, and even then, these next couple of days don't mean anything because the new build will come out and it will all be change. It may not all be change. It's so difficult. And this is why you never test something on a week 13. World Championships traditionally never get put on a week 13. This is the first time I think I've seen it happen for a while. So this week 13, this Nürburgring race, just by the fact that it's on a week 13, becomes more interesting than any other title deciding race. Because last season we had it a points difference in the championship. This season it's been domination Core. Even with the DDoS, it's been domination Core. So who can stop Core? Only Core can stop Core, in my opinion. Because they've had everyone out of the vehicle. They've had a lot of issues with schedule and how everyone's been trying to work together. But ultimately, if Core lose the title, they crash. And they'll have to crash to make the title lose. They'll get points. No, don't get me wrong, they'll get points. But it will have to take an incident that knocks them out of the race indefinitely for them to lose the title. And with that said, Tuesdays at 6, we try our best. It sometimes doesn't happen, but if you have any questions that you want answered, message me at Jake_Sparey or at iWeeklySN. Make sure you subscribe for more. I've been #DoYouMindJakeSparey, and this was the iWeekly Show.